Ever the curious type, today I wanted to figure out why my blue-black 124 shifts a lot firmer than my red one. And I know my red one is configured correctly, but I suspect blue-black is not, because when I got it, it had a worn-out reverse, and I suspect someone has been playing with the modulation pressure. As you can see here, the 722-359, which I have, is supposed to have a black modulator. And what do we have here? A red one. That's actually an invalid configuration. This is supposed to have a black vacuum box. What exactly did have a red vacuum box? I'm not sure. There's several options here. 722-350, which I believe is the 560 V8. Possibly some other variants as well. The 361, I'm not sure what that was in, but that was optional with a red as well. But the most important thing is, all variants of the transmission that's in my car, all are supposed to have a black modulator. So here is the basic version, with and without three-way catalyst. Both of them have black modulators. So I'm not even going to check the pressures because that's an invalid configuration, but however, I do like the firmer shifting that it has at the moment, so I'm going to leave that alone. While I had this open, I just wanted to have a look at where these oil leaks were coming from. For those unaware, the level sender in the sump here is notorious for leaking, and not just from its outer O-ring. It fails and leaks through the middle here, so this sensor is no good. I'm going to have to change that. You can see there's no oil leaking from above that, and it is wet below it. My sump plug is also leaking. I will get that as well. More concerningly, the rear main seal is also leaking, but I did know about that. It looks like it might be getting worse. So at some stage I'm going to have to address that. It's getting wet everywhere, and my steering box is also looking a little wet, more than it used to. Unfortunately, this is what happens on a car that you do actually drive occasionally. And I believe my front main seal might be starting to leak as well, so I think it might be easier just to remove this engine and reseal everything at once. I've not taken this engine out before. It has never been taken out. It's all original. I've only rebuilt the cylinder head while the engine was in place. Good news is my engine mounts are okay. That's the one thing I was actually looking at, but then I found all of these other atrocities. But yeah, it'll happen in due course. For anyone curious what this tow bar, or tow hitch as the Americans call it, looks like, this is one that was made in Western Australia. That's what the electrical connector looks like that we use in Australia. There's another variant as well, actually another two, but that's what I've got. So it bolts in 4 places at the very rear. You can see the wiring comes through the base there as well. And then it's got this welded on extension. That's the details about the maximum weight. And this is a welded reinforcement that goes all the way to just behind the differential, just to give it a bit more strength. There's no doubt it's not particularly strong at the rear there. That just gives it that extra strength. I've only ever used this a few times, and I would only use a very light trailer. I would not be moving houses with this thing. Fortunately, my rear subframe is looking pretty good. I don't have any oil leaks to worry about back here. And surprisingly, my differential is dry. No real leaks coming from my axle shaft boots. They're looking pretty good. And of quick look inside the fuel pump area. Everything's looking okay in there as well. I'm just having a look because it's up in the air. And it's, as mentioned, very difficult to keep my car clean where I live. If it's not one thing, it's another. It does get completely coated with sand constantly, but I also have spiders making a home in my 124. This one is feeling a little camera shy today, so it's not going to come out. But yeah, that's not the only one. There's several. And I did drive this yesterday and had passengers in it, and yet those webs have been rebuilt. Fortunately, they can't get inside the car. Well, not that I've seen. I've never seen any spiders crawling around in there, because that would freak me out. The thought of being bitten while driving is kind of concerning. They seem to love making a nest in this car. And you can see all of the dirt that's accumulating on it. I did have this car ridiculously clean and like a mirror finish not that long ago, but yeah, it doesn't take long for it to look like this. It's quite demoralizing. I really need to get a cover and stop this from happening. They're just everywhere, even in the suspension. They like to set up house. I should just stay in the brake discs and then they'll just get cooked every time I drive it, but unfortunately they're too clever for that.